Okay, so let's get right into it. Have you ever wondered why a company, especially a furniture company, would suddenly decide to stop making its stuff overseas and bet everything on building it right here in America? Well, we're going to take you inside Lovesac's latest investor call to break down their huge, and I mean huge, pivot to Made in the USA. All right, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the big problem that really forced their hand. Then, we'll check out their all-in-American solution and the surprising benefits that come with it. We're even going to see how this whole thing actually leads to a better sofa for you and me. And finally, what this all means for their big plans down the road. So this really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, the whole world is built on global supply chains. So why on earth would you swim against that current? It's a massive undertaking, it's expensive, and it's super difficult. So let's really dig into the why. Well, the short answer is that for the past 10 years or so, making things around the world has been anything but simple. In fact, if you had to sum it up in one word, that word would be volatility. And look, these aren't just some generic risks you'd see in a business textbook. Lovesac CEO Sean Nelson, he specifically called all this stuff out. He's talking about tariffs, sure, but also actual pirates and hurricanes, massive shipping container shortages. This chaos forced them into what he calls a hopscotch game all over the globe, just constantly jumping from one country to the next to avoid a crisis. You just can't run a business that way. It's totally unstable. So when you're faced with that level of chaos, you have to make a big move. And they did. They decided, you know what? We're not waiting around for the next disaster to hit. And the result of that is, in their own words, Lovesac is now completely out of China, which is a huge deal considering how much of the world's furniture is made there. And that brings us to their big solution. See, this isn't just about leaving one country. It's about taking back control of their own fate by bringing the whole operation home. You know, I love this quote from the CEO. It just perfectly captures their thinking. He says they've been kicked out of the nest before by all these global problems, and they've basically decided never again. This time, they're building their own nest right where they can see it. Now, the official business term for this whole process is reshoring. And yeah, it's a super complex, difficult thing to pull off. But inside Lovesac, they're not just looking at it as a chore they have to do. The CEO says this is the single most exciting initiative they have going on right now. And here's the really crucial part. This whole thing isn't just about slapping a Made in the USA sticker on the box for patriotic points. For Lovesac, the payoff here has real, tangible business advantages that are going to make them a much stronger company in the long run. Just look at this side by side. The old way, you're talking long, totally unpredictable shipping times and prices that could just swing wildly without warning. But the new, American-made way, we're talking shorter, way more reliable transit, much more stable costs, and a supply chain that's just a whole lot tougher and more efficient. To really put this into perspective, think about this number 400. What is that? Well, at any given moment, Lovesac might have had around 400 shipping containers full of product, just floating out there in the world, either being made, on the water, sitting in a port. That's a staggering amount of their own money, just tied up, doing nothing. And by making things here at home, that massive financial weight, all those containers, can be, as they put it, mitigated tremendously. That frees up a ton of cash and slashes the costs of warehousing all that stuff. It's a direct boost right to their bottom line. Okay, but this is where the story gets really, really cool. Not just for the money people, but for anyone who might actually, buy a sofa. This whole move isn't just about logistics and spreadsheets. It's about creating a fundamentally better version of their main product, the Sactional. The CEO was so clear about this. He actually said this is not hyperbole. He's flat out promising that the Sactionals made here in the USA won't just be the same as before, they're going to be better than anything they've ever made. So what exactly does better mean? Well, he teased a few things. The new ones will be made in a more robust way, with re-engineered materials. But then he said they're working on completely groundbreaking new features, things that he says nobody in the furniture world has ever even thought of solving. And you can bet they're filing new patents to protect it all. So when you put all these pieces together, the control over the supply chain, the lower costs, this amazing new product, what you get is the foundation for Lovesac's future. It's their blueprint for real sustainable growth. And that growth is built on a really specific financial target. The company wants to keep its gross margins in that sweet spot, somewhere between 55 and 60%. For them, that's the magic number that keeps the business healthy and lets them compete effectively. But you might wonder, why not aim for even bigger profits? Well, in a pretty candid moment, the CEO explained it perfectly. Pushing those margins any higher would be like leaving too much meat on that bone. It basically just invites competitors to come in and try to undercut them. So it's this really smart, delicate balance between making money and defending their turf.
So what's the end game here? Why build this incredibly strong, profitable, and efficient foundation? Well, it's not just about selling more sofas. It's about earning the right to go bigger, to expand into totally new product categories, or as they like to call it, moving into a new room of your home.
And that leaves us with this one last, really fascinating question. Lovesac is making a huge bet that the path to a stronger, more innovative, and more profitable company is to come home. So in this crazy, uncertain world, are we watching them create the new blueprint for what Made in the USA can and maybe should look like in the 21st century?